She grows not where she's planted, where she's called. She grows wild. She grows wild. Rooted in truth, rising high. She grows wild. Ready?
You ready?
I
Hmm. Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 2 of She Grows Wild podcast. Today in the building, we got LaQuinta, Muffin. Hey, hello. I gotta give me a horn.
Hello, everybody. Yes.
How you feeling?
I'm feeling good. I'm excited. I'm ready for the conversation because we always have good conversation.
Me too.
So excited.
Cool. We're gonna jump on in.
Let's do it.
It's gonna be a nice little normal flow. So we do this all the time.
We do, and it's crazy because it's like, girl, we should be recording this conversation when we're talking on the phone.
Every
So
time.
now,
$1 million conversations. Absolutely.
we do.
Absolutely. So we're gonna jump into have just a routine format that I go by, where we kind of talk about your childhood, adolescence, very young years, and then the young adult years, and then kind of anything else you want to tackle up until this point, and then kind of highlighting what life looks like for you now, and any tidbits of wisdom that you want to impart on the masses.
Okay.
On the masses. Is there anything you want to say about yourself before we get started?
Let me see. I have no idea. No, I'm at the point in my life where I just really feel good.
Come on.
Excited about the wisdom, the growth, the knowing of how to readjust my life to benefit me and not others. Like, I don't know, I'm on this path that it ain't perfect by any means, but I love where I'm at. Like, I do.
Okay.
I do. So,
Okay.
yeah.
So let's talk about childhood, Muffin. Would you like me to call you Muffin?
Call me Muffin, Tyler.
Okay.
Muffin is.
Okay.
It's more, to me, Muffin is so much more intimate. It's personal because you know me. LaQuinta is like, I don't know these fucking people. Like, yes, how are you? How can I help you? That's LaQuinta. This Muffin.
Okay.
Muffin.
So let's talk about childhood, Muffin. Tell us a little bit about your childhood.
Childhood, Muffin, is crazy because the best parts of my life that I can actually remember growing up was when we lived in North Carolina because my daddy was in the service.
Okay.
I can remember small bits and pieces when we lived in California. The only memory I have of California growing up as a kid was, when I think back, like right now, I really don't remember my mom being around. I know she was there, but like, I don't have memory of seeing her. Mm-hmm. I remember my older sister, Tutu. We were always in the kitchen for some reason, and we would go outside. My dad would leave for work. We would go outside in the morning. In the backyard would have these tall, slender grasses growing, but would have ladybugs everywhere. We would go outside, Tupperware, and try to catch ladybugs. That's the only memory I have of that, and I was younger. But I remember growing up in Fayetteville, Fort Bragg, North Carolina. Oh. I remember those memories the most, I think, because it was the sense of freedom as a kid that I had. I think that was between pre-K up until probably about maybe up to 5th grade, because we moved away in my 5th grade year. But I remember getting on my bike, riding with the wind in my face. I would have my daddy canteen full of red Kool-Aid, girl. You couldn't tell me nothing. And it would be me by myself. I really didn't have a lot of friends. I had friends in the neighborhood I would play with, but I didn't have anybody that I hung with.
Okay.
And I would get on my bike and I would ride, and I'd go to this big open field, and I would lay in the grass, or I would lay on this big a big drainage cement thing. And I would just look at the sky and look at the clouds. Like, I don't know where I would go to, but I would just look at the clouds and I would pop up and drink Kool-Aid and lay back down. But that was the most freedom I had. Like, I love it. Like, I remember that. But now that we talk about it, I realize ever since I was young, I always been alone. I never had anybody. Even up until now, I realized that, like, I'm more, like, circles of friends. I don't have very many girlfriends. Like, when they always say keep your circle small, it's always been small, not intentionally. It's just how I grew into that. Like, but that's my fondest memory of a childhood. I can remember my mama. I remember my mama always cooking for us, coming from the schoolhouse, always spick and span, always clean. You got a sandwich as a snack, and then you came and you ate supper, and everybody had chores that they had to do, homework. I can remember my second oldest sister, Tanny, was the one who always had to comb my hair and help me with my schoolwork, and she hated it because I was not no quick learner. I remember that. And she always braided my hair. And this one time, if she listened to this, she gonna be like, I can't believe he said that. She was always so creative, and she braided this crown on top of my head, and it set up like a crown. And she was so impressed at her braiding skills. And now as an adult, I get that. But as a child, I hated that shit because it was ugly as hell. I hated it. And to this day, I still hate it. And I remember getting on the Sunday school bus, because the Sunday school bus would come through the neighborhood and all the little kids would get on it. And I remember I sat so low in that seat because I didn't want nobody to see that crown. And they had this little redhead girl on the bus. I still see you. And I hated it. Like, that was the moment I realized that my appearance mattered to me then. I realize that now. But I was the youngest of four, so growing up, they were all teenagers while I was still in elementary school. So I really didn't have anyone to sit and talk with about life that I didn't have. I just knew that when my mom would leave being younger, they fell into a mama role, my older two sisters. Okay. I have a brother who's right above me, but that was mostly my childhood. As I got older, more aware of things, my mom was never there. So I knew that. So I don't know if growing up when we were in California, if she wasn't there, but I don't have any memories of her being there. Not saying she wasn't, I just don't remember. But in North Carolina, I know that she would pack up and leave. And it wasn't anything that made me feel less of as a child or less love, because she always made sure that she showed us love and was there for us. It just became something that was normal. So I couldn't even tell you how I processed it. Like, even as an adult, when I would ask her about it, it didn't hurt. I was just curious, like, why would you leave? And her response was, because y'all didn't appreciate me. And I was like, well, Mama, we were kids, but not understanding what she was going through. But as a child, it felt normal to me. Even now as an adult, I don't feel affected by it. I don't. It just it was like a normal part of life. We just fell into place. I had chores as a young child. I had chores. I had to sweep or vacuum the whole house. That was my chore. I can remember my older two sisters always had to cook. They always cooked. My sisters and brothers always had doing days that they had to do the dishes. So as a child growing up, it were my older two sisters, I always say, that raised me, because not that my mama wasn't there, but physically in the house, she wasn't always there. So I always looked to them for everything because I was young. I didn't understand a lot of life. So for me as a younger child, I kind of feel like I had an okay life growing up, but it's parts of it. Even when I try to think back about certain things, most of it, not most of it, some of it for me is kind of like a blur. Like I don't remember certain things. It's certain things that I remember that stood up that my daddy may have said to me or watching my parents have arguments or fights, I can remember things like that. But as far as a childhood, I feel like I didn't have any different childhood than any other child, but I never sat down and talked to anybody about their childhood to understand if there was anything different about it.
Right.
Right. I just talk about my childhood with my siblings, like growing up. And a lot of times they'll bring up stories like, you don't remember that? I'm like, I don't remember that, But the most that I can remember was living in North Carolina growing up because I was a child. I playing outside with the kids, playing in the snow, always at the park, playing hide and go get it. Girl, we ain't know nothing about no hide and go get it. Outside trying to play hide and go get it. Like, we ain't know nothing about what we was doing.
Your parents, I'm assuming that they eventually divorced during times that your mom would like leave and come back. Were they still married, or was this at the time where they were divorced?
They were still married. Not knowing a lot what was going on, because like I said, I was the youngest of four. I would say probably, I don't know how old I was, probably between second and fourth grade. But I can remember them fighting. I never knew what the fights were about, but I remember them fighting a lot. I can remember whenever they would fight, my brother, he would go into the kitchen and get all the knives and take them outside and hide them because my mom would go get a knife. Oh. I can remember that. I know that when we moved to Texas was when my parents split up and the divorce was going through. And I can remember all of the kids were with my dad. And now we moved from North Carolina. I remember it was 88 because that was the year my sisters then graduated from high school.
88?
88.
Okay.
That's when we moved to Port Arthur. My brother, I think he was 16 and he was still in school. And I was going into the 5th grade. I remember that's when we moved. And I remember being asked what parent I wanted to go with. And I remember saying, I don't want to choose mom because I don't want to make you mad. I don't want to choose because I want to make my mom mad. I remember that. And I just know we just went with my dad. My dad had retired from the service in 88. And he moved back to his hometown in Texas and all the kids went with him. And my mom, we lived on base and it was a couple that lived next door to us. He had moved, he had got the service and moved to Newark, New Jersey. And that's who she went to go stay with them. And we all came to Texas. And during that time, their divorce was finalized. And I can remember asking my mama why she didn't take us. And she said, because your dad could provide for y'all better than I could at that time. But yeah, they ended up getting a divorce from North Carolina.
You made mention of having to, or being asked to choose. Do you kind of reflect on that sometimes, when making decisions in your adult life? Do you feel like sometimes you still kind of you don't want to upset anybody by the choice that you make?
I can say now, fucking no. And this is maybe the last 5 years I've gotten this way, but prior to that, because you said it I never correlated it together, but I do know that growing up, kind of going back, my father was very controlling. I remember that. I can remember my mom telling me that she used to have to give my dad her whole check after she got, when she worked. He always got her check. And then my sister had worked somewhere and she would say my dad would take her check sometimes. And I don't know if that's something that my dad learned from my grandfather because I've never had those really deep, intimate conversations with my dad like that. One of my sisters, she does what I've never had. But I do know that growing up and stepping into a young teenager, young adulthood, even into my adult life, I would say probably up into my mid-30s. My daddy always had a huge impact on my life as far as decision making. And so he always had made all decisions for me when I was under his roof. Like when I graduated in 96. graduated in May and June out of district for college because I didn't have a choice. And I had to take at least 15 hours, between 12 and 15 hours. I didn't have a choice. I couldn't take off that summer like I had to. Like my daddy made every decisions and I couldn't buck him. And if I tried, he made it very apparent that this wasn't going to go on. And it wasn't so much as I got beat down or I got belittled and disgraced. It was just that my daddy he had this authority to him to when he spoke, you listen.
Yeah,
He's the oldest out of 7 kids. So even when I had opened up a bank account, I had to go like, Dad, I already have a bank account. Where do I go? Like everything was always ran through him and every decision was made by him. And so as I got older, I did realize that making decisions was very hard. You know, I always wondered like, what if I make the wrong decision? Because I didn't know how to, because he made them for me. And so it made me look to others for decisions. It did. Even I realized, you know, as an adult, I started realizing that when we have, whether the decision is major in life or not, but it's a decision that you have to make and you're afraid of rocking the boat on your decision, you'll talk to somebody about a decision you want to make. You're not asking them what you think, but you want them to give you their input to validate whether you should do this or do that. And I realized that we do that because we're unsure of which way to go in a decision and we want to look to others to make the decision for us without even asking them. And I realized that with me, I've done that for a long time. It took me a while to realize that, but now it's like with age comes wisdom. It really does. And now I just feel like, fuck it. What's gonna be, you know? Because the truth of the matter is, if you make the wrong decision, it's not the end of the world. You know, you get to go and correct something. And I think we don't realize that we so tied into